I, Rastafari, Kedamawi, Haile Selassie, Ja, Rastafari. Yeah. While go on, everybody, another live stream, another YouTube. We're excited to come to you and bring you more information and details about what we've been up to, what we have coming. The website is actually very close to being done. We're excited to bring y'all new merch. We're excited to bring you guys new testimonies, language courses, international travel plans, holistic healing. We also want to teach you agriculture, and we want to teach you herbal remedies as far as that ganja. See me, I say that's fire. See me, I say, and it's healing, because a lot of people have false narratives about ganja, and it's hilarious because they believe everything the doctors say, yet the physician telling them for cataracts, go get some ganja. The physician turn around, tell them if you need sleep, get you some ganja. The physician tell you stress, go get you some ganja. And yet you'll still turn around because you're suffering from what we call cognitive dissonance. You'll turn around and still attack, right, the herb that Almighty gave us through the planet itself. So we're going to touch that, but that's not the primary topic today. Primary topic today is Nuwabian Lies, right? And we're gonna press on the Nuwabian kingdom, because if you're a kingdom and if you stand for righteousness and justice, you'll hear our call. But if you're wicked, right, you're gonna be seen. We're gonna be found out, right? And I've learned not to rationalize with wicked people because they're crooked in all of their ways. So why try to rationalize with a person who's wicked? So we're gonna see whether the Nuwabian kingdom is about unity, right, or whether they're about division and separation. Because it seemed to me they're about division and separation. And the reason why we bring this up is because the head of the Nuwabian nation, of the Nuwabian kingdom, right, which is not a real kingdom or a nation, to let you know, right, because to be substantiated as a kingdom or a nation, one must have a king on a throne, and one must also have a nation, which means an area that you own, territory that you have, that's legally yours, that's protected by military might and force. See me, I say, y'all, what y'all have in the Nuwabian kingdom, to technically break it down, is rhetoric. We're gonna keep it 100, right? What we have in Ethiopia is a nation, right? What we have through the Crown Council is a kingdom. See me, I say. And what we have through the Ethiopian World Federation is an institution, right? A 501c4. So these legitimate organizations. It's not just hearsay, right? It's not just rhetoric. Now, it's come to my attention once again that a brethren, I'm not even gonna say an idrin, I gotta say a brethren because he's outside of the kingdom. Brother Wu Sabat, right, has posted some more felonious testimony against His Imperial Majesty's kingdom, against His Imperial Majesty's caricature, and against His Imperial Majesty's divine ordinance by God Almighty. And this is problematic because as soon as you open up this book, which is made by Malachii Z York, and the book, when you open it up, it's called Haile Selassie, is Haile Selassie God, or something of that nature. We'll leave that in the bottom. But in this book, as soon as you open it up, he comes in saying Haile Selassie is not the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. Now, this is a problem because for 3,000 years, this man is on the throne of a nation that's never been conquered or colonized, right? And his kingdom, as well as the Oriental Orthodox Church, as well as the Solomonic dynasty, has identified him and coronated him and blessed him and anointed him to the throne of David, and given him not only the scriptural divine titles, but also titles of nobility and royalty. A title of nobility gives you power, legitimate power, not just rhetoric, not rhetorical power like this Nuwabian wannabe over here. And I'm not trying to throw shade, but we got to be honest. You know, we call a wannabe what a wannabe is. He wants to have a throne and he wants to have a kingdom, but he doesn't, right? Because if a person had a king and a throne, ain't nobody gonna come take him off the throne unless he gives them the power to do such. And this is something that we'll reveal later on down the line. But to not get too far off of the topic, we have to look at some of the accusation that this man has said. He said he was not Lord of Lords and King of Kings, conquering line of tribe of Judah. Why is John F. Kennedy identifying him when he lands as the Lord of Lords and King of Kings, the conquering line of the tribe of Judah, right? When he's coming to visit the continental United States, which is considered the most powerful country on the world, on the planet. Why are 70 nations and every single head of just about every single nation on earth during the time coming to his coronation, right? Think about it. Britain ruled almost 80 or 90% of the planet when His Majesty was coronated in the 1930s, okay? So for almost 70 nations, heads of states, princes, princesses, emperors to come and send emissaries, right? Ambassadors, princes, dukes to come to his coronation, and for the National Geographic to document this so you can go and bear witness to these divine and noble titles of royalty means that we have what's called evidence, right? Not circumstantial, not rhetorical, factual evidence that his divine and noble titles are Lord of Lords and King of Kings, the conquering line of the tribe of Judah, elect of God, and light of the universe. As a matter of fact, you can go pull up his 1955 Constitution and see all of his titles and royal titles of nobility in his Constitution. Another false accusation that was made was that he was only the king and only influential in Ethiopia. This is like the biggest mistake you made, buddy, because His Imperial Majesty was known by the entire planet. His Imperial Majesty was two-time Time Magazine Man of the Year, okay? And in the Time Magazine Man of the Year, they reference him as being the most popular person on the planet. So you mean to tell me that the world didn't know about His Majesty? That he wasn't globally impactful? I mean, it's felonious. It's an accusation that you can't substantiate. His Imperial Majesty was two-time Nobel laureate. His Imperial Majesty was Guinness World Book of Records most decorated man in human history. His Imperial Majesty was the highest ranking military official in human history, being Field Marshal of Britain and Field Marshal of Ethiopia. His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, was not a king. He was an emperor. There's a difference in rank, if you understand rank and nobility. It's not something that you could just dismiss or move out of the way as something small. It's not small talk here, right? And you also made an accusation that His Majesty has not created any form of book that's inspired or moved the nations. His Imperial Majesty's speech to the League of Nations is what catapulted him into Time Magazine Man of the Year, right? His Imperial Majesty's speeches are still moving nations to this day. His speech to the United Nations in 1963 has been what we call, it has been coined in a song that the entire world knows. Have you ever heard of Bob Marley's song? That until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is permanently discredited and abandoned. Well, everywhere is war. Me say war. Come on now. Tell me what your Nuwabian team has done to come close. Did you establish Africa? Did you establish the African Union? You talking about unity. What unity? You behind bars, buddy. And your people got you there, because if your people was really about that life, they'd have got you out years ago. See me I say? Since they talking about taking over, I'm gonna tell you like Pac said, nigga, if you God, nigga, pop the gate. Unlock yourself, bruh. Alright? See me I say? So this is where rhetoric versus reality, right? And we ain't even got at you, because really we can get at you. Because really and truly, if we start to look at legacy and compare like a Libra scale, we start to realize that you named yourself Dr. Malachii Z York. Maybe you got it from some quote unquote prophet. You made accusations that His Majesty was educated with a what you call European education system. Did you know that Ethiopia was a third world country, and that obviously in order to modernize their country, in order for His Majesty to bring his country to the modern world, this is why His Majesty was able to make Ethiopia a member of the League of Nations, because he had a European education, and that European education catapulted Ethiopia into the modern world and made them a member of the League of Nations, ensuring them that they will be protected by the international community from any type of war crimes. And the international community still turned their back on a nation they rejected, His Majesty having the foresight to still make them a member. Now I want you to consider, Menelik, who was king or emperor of Ethiopia, is who chose His Imperial Majesty's education. But I find it funny as hell, excuse my language, but that's where you demons come from. I find it funny as hell that you have the nerve and audacity to try to dismiss His Imperial Majesty's education when you yourself is talking with a British accent. Make it make sense, brother. You over here like, obviously His Majesty had the... You sound like you straight from Britain, bro. It don't get no more Europe than that. It don't get no more Europe than that, brother. You hear these people talk. You let them take your food broth. You let them take your food broth. And you over here condemning His Majesty for having a European education. You think that's the only education he had? Have you done your research? Have you done your research? Did you know His Majesty spoke over 5, 6, 7 languages? That means he couldn't have just had a European education. He spoke Amharic. He spoke Ge'ez, right? Ge'ez is the most ancient African language in the world. So is that a European education, or is that an African education too? Make it make sense. See me, I say, right? And then we go to His Majesty's legacy. And this is where, to me, Dr. Malachii Z York, almost everything in your book was a complete lie. From front page to the end. You tell like a sentence of truth and a novel of a lie, then come back to a sentence of truth. Go read his book. It goes sentence of truth, novel of lie. Sentence of truth, novel of lie. Rhetoric. And I got some of the rhetoric that you came with. I'm going to close by putting some of this rhetoric out here for y'all to know. Big shout out to the brother Rambo, who took good time and was diligent enough to bring some of these things to our attention. Some of these things I knew, but he was able to bring them back to our awareness. Some of these things I hadn't had a look at, and so these are new. So once again, for example, he said His Majesty's name ain't in the Bible. His Majesty's last name is Selassie, right? Selassie, did you know the root of Selassie is Selah, right? Like Salam Alaikum, right? Malaikum Salam, right? Salam, which means peace, be upon you, right? Which all of the Arabic world, all of the African world, most of them are speaking, right? As it's I think it's the third most prominent language in the continent of Africa and Arabia, right? So, and through Muslims, right? So His Imperial Majesty's name, Selah, the root, is mentioned 70 times in the book of Psalms, right? Haile. Last time I checked, every single time they in church, they say, Hallelujah, hallelujah, praise Jah. See me, I say. Now, did you know what? When Christ was on the cross, go and look it up. And he said, Eli, Eli, why hast thou forsaken me? That's how he would have said, God, why hast thou forsaken me? Right? Eli, Eli, they didn't have H. So he's saying, highly, why hast thou forsaken me? Go and look it up. Do your diligence. His Majesty's name means the might of the Trinity or power of the Trinity. How many times has the Bible said power? I'll wait. Right? And if you read the scriptures, it just about speaks Selah, right? Every time they reference God, they say Selah. So this is important as well. And then I'm going to go to a couple more and then we'll move on, because this is just some trivia. We got some more for y'all, so just stay tuned. Ethiopia has an elegant king's list, right? And this is something he mentioned too. He said he has no proof, right, that he's descended from Solomon. Now, wait a minute. We know, number one, Ethiopia has never been conquered or colonized, right? So why is it that you believe these European nations, when they tell you they descend from Thor and Zeus and all these, they tell you they descend from all of these different kings, you just off rip, you believe them. But when an Ethiopian nation tells you they're descended from King Solomon, all of a sudden you got a problem with it. But the same people will be telling you that the Ark of the Covenant is there. The same people will tell you the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. Type it in now. The entire Western Christian world. The Ark is in Ethiopia. I heard it's in. So how did it get to Ethiopia? Make it make sense. Unless it was Menelik, the son of Solomon, and Queen Sheba that brought it to Ethiopia. And if they didn't bring it to Ethiopia, why have they never been defeated? Is that not proof enough of God's divine hand and mercy on this nation that they've never been defeated? Or the fact that this is the nation that all humanity comes from? Or the fact that this is the Garden of Eden referenced in Genesis? Or the fact that Eden means paradise? So when Christ said to the man on his left, today you'll be with me in paradise, he was referencing Ethiopia. As it says, the second river is the Gihon, which encompasses the land of Ethiopia. Or we can go to Psalms 87, verses 1 through 4, which says, from Philistia and Tern in Ethiopia, this man was born there, and it shall be said, the Most High shall establish her himself. Right. So we have the proof. Y'all have the rhetoric. And this is where it's a challenge to deal with people who are really not versed and educated the way they claim. These people claim they was educated in Egypt, but you was educated in Massachusetts. Dr. Malachii Z York, why are you hiding your American history? Right? You over here trying to settle in America. You had your shit in Atlanta, Georgia. Ooh, what's going on? You trying to tell everybody not to go back to Africa. Make it make sense. Right? This is the delusion in our community that's keeping us separated. We as a community have to focus on what's helping us unify. These type of people, Pac told us about these type of people. It's a lot of our heroes, right? Righteous brothers that died for this, that told us and warned us about these people. These are like the Judases to Jesus. See me, I say, because they come here to divide and separate. And they all, anytime you see these wolves in sheep's clothing, all they trying to do is get you to follow them and send some cash out and send some aid and send some girls so they can lay with them and play with them, right? And it's sad because some of them like to play with young girls, right? And these are the type of accusations you never heard about as Imperial Majesty, but you see these things coming to light about the Nuwabian, right, kingdom, right? So we're gonna go ahead and segue. I wanted you, if you can, Brother Josh, if you have any questions, ready. You have anything we haven't covered, or you wanted anything to add? By all means, I want to give you the floor so you can also share. And if you have any questions, my brother Ricky, by all means, my brother Swift, you know what I mean? The floor is open. We definitely want to answer all questions and help everybody get a better understanding of why the Rastaman is tired, fed up. We've turned one cheek. We turned the other cheek. We was patient. We try to reach out in social forums. We try to reach out on Clubhouse. We try to reach out to their number. And these people have just completely denied access to people who actually have the scholarship, right? So if you're watching this and you have it in your heart and you real about yours, invite me on your show so I can eat you up. And you know I'm going to eat you up because I know these facts like the back of my hand, like the black of my hand. See me, I say. And I know you don't because we read the book and we see the nonsense. We see through the nonsense. Some of these people are agents, right? They put these agents on the street. They put these agents around prominent people. A lot of people don't know that these people followed a lot of prominent people. Go do your research about Malachii Z York and who put him on. And then they get the prominent people jammed up. Then they eventually themselves get jammed up. But that's a whole nother story. We'll get into that later if we have to go deeper. Now, if we get a contact, we may not continue to poke the bear. See me, I say. But if we don't get no response, then hey, we may just dig a little deeper. But go ahead, Brother Josh. Love to hear from you, family. Yes, I'm a scroll. See what I say.
Well, I mean, I feel like you pretty much, like, as far as like what I got from the video, you kind of answered a lot of those questions. Like, for example, I mean, I saw there was like one point at like the 6 minute mark, and this is kind of just also like references that I'm making from their actual book, is Haile Selassie the Christ. Like, for example, they said at 6 minutes, they were reading one of the pages and they said Haile Selassie was the emperor of Ethiopia, but that's all he was. And they said that he wasn't a worldwide influence nor a spiritual influence. And, some of the notes that I took based off that, I said, like, Selassie, he was a worldwide influence. Like you had said, he addressed the League of Nations and later on the United Nations, which, at the time when he addressed the League of Nations, there was 52 nations present, and there was approximately 80 sovereign nations that were recognized in the world at the time, and 63 of them were actual member states of the League. So it's like, at that point, essentially, he's influenced. He has that influence if all the nation's leaders pretty much listen to him.
Okay, I have to break this down because this is very important in context. First off, their entire argument is destroyed right there. You've already destroyed it. You say he's not a world influence. Why are we talking about him? Second, and more importantly, or not more importantly, but just as importantly, His Imperial Majesty helped found the United Nations. He was also the founder of the African Union. People say, well, why didn't he found the United Nations if he's God Almighty? Because God Almighty gives us free choice. That's why it's called the United Nations, right? Because mankind have to decide their own destiny. You see me, I say. And once again, we don't worship man. Your body is going to dust. We worship the Spirit of God Almighty incarnate. Go and learn the definition of incarnate. Understand theosis and understand what it means to be elect of God and anointed on the throne of David, according to the biblical prophecy, which is a historical, right? Which is a historical claim to power. Kings of ancient nations claim power through the Bible, which is called the divine right of kings. I'm saying that to say this. You're saying he doesn't have international influence. Billy Graham, the head of the evangelical Christian community of the Western Hemisphere, brought His Imperial Majesty out as his special guest for the first World Evangelical Council in world history. He was his special guest, and his own words were, out of all of the people in the world that we kept considering, this man's name just kept coming back up. He talked about the importance of Ethiopia, while you degrade Ethiopia, a European, right, who's so far removed from Ethiopia, is bigging it up. And that's the sad part, because we tear our own down, right? Whether you believe in His Imperial Majesty or not it's not your right to condemn anybody's faith. You know what I'm saying? No man should judge another man's faith, for no man knows the ways of Almighty. That's His Majesty's words. And we live by that. We're not here to condemn a man's faith. Notice how we have not condemned a person who practices a Nuwabian faith. We're more concerned with false prophets, and we're more concerned with false testimonies, even more than a false prophet. For who can judge a man but Almighty? But we do judge the fruit from the tree. If you have fruit that got worms in it, I'm not eating it. I'm going to toss it to the side. And I read your book. That's a fruit with worms in it. You can't name one autobiography or one false testimony from His Majesty. Not one. Bring it forward. And I'm going to go ahead and challenge it for you. But as far as I'm concerned, nothing you brought to the table is substantiated with facts. And that's what we just destroyed your argument about him not being a global influence. 2-time magazine man of the year. I mean, he's been on Ebony, he's been on Jet, he's been on New York Times countless times. You understand what I'm saying? Like, he was on the first newspaper that was ever produced in color in history, right? He was a world diplomat before he was even appointed to the throne of David. He was already known as one of the world's foremost statesmen, right? One of the newspaper outlets named him the world's most respected prophet after his prophecy to the League of Nations. All right, and as y'all know, I can go on and on. He's the head of the Oriental Orthodox Church, the oldest church on earth with the most complete Bible on earth, right? And His Imperial Majesty unified these 5 churches. That means he's influential in Malankara, that's in India. That means he's influential in Armenia, right, where he connected their church as well. That means he's influential in Egypt, that's the Coptic church, right? That means he's influential in Ethiopia, which is the Hirohito church, right? And he's definitely influential in Syria, where they have a divine liturgy for His Majesty. And you can look at the divine liturgy on YouTube. They gave him a red letter day. Go figure out what a red letter day is, because it's not my duty to bring you up to speed, right? Why feed your pearls to swine when they're going to trample on the pearls, and then attack you? It's a waste of time. So we've just shown you how influential and impactful he is in the Christian realm. We just showed you how he's also impactful in the Western Christian hemisphere. Oh, by the way, did you know that the Emperor of Ethiopia is considered he who keeps peace between the Islamic and Christian nation, because Muhammad sent his followers to Ethiopia for refuge, right? Before the times of Izana. Did y'all know that? And they deliberated for hours and days, eventually realizing that Abraham gave birth to 2 sons, Ishmael and Isaac. Therefore, the Islamic nation are brothers to the Christian nation. And now they live in peace to this day. And that Ethiopia is the 4th most influential Muslim country in the planet, because they have the 4th most influential mosque on the planet. Most people don't know that. So when you talk about influence and impact, His Imperial Majesty was unbelievably impactful because he's the head of the African Union. Do you know how many Muslim states are a part of the African Union? See, people don't know these things. They think that Africa is just all Christian. They don't realize how many Muslim states are represented in the African, right, Union, and how these Muslim states were so influential and impactful in His Majesty breaking ties with Israel, because Israel continued to break the 1967 treaties. So His Majesty turned around and said, all right, well, because of my Arab brethren and because of my important role in the African Union as the father of Africa, which these 32 heads of state designated me as, and as the chairman of the African Union, the first elected ever unanimously, I have to live by what I say. So to say he's not influential, did you know that hundreds of nations, heads of states, including American heads of states, including British heads of states, including Russian, including Chinese, including Japanese, came to the Jubilee Palace, which I would introduce anybody who's interested. Go and look up the Jubilee Palace too, because they just refurbished it. It's making the Queen of England's palace look like child's play, right? It's making the Queen of England's palace look like child's play. And so it's on the hill, just like the Bible says, and all of the nations' heads of states come to this hill, and they come for divine wisdom and counsel as to how they should conduct their governments. His Imperial Majesty was an advisor to John F. Kennedy. Come on. His Imperial Majesty influenced Malcolm X. Malcolm X came up with the Organization of African American Unity, and it was modeled after the Organization of African Unity, which is now known as the African Union. He was an influence to Muammar Gaddafi, who was the biggest proponent for African unity since His Imperial Majesty, right? He was an influence for Nelson Mandela. Did you know His Imperial Majesty flew Nelson Mandela into the heart of Africa, trained him, educated him, gave him a pistol, take this with you. And by the way, take my security with you. And by the way, boom, 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 sent him back down to South Africa to fight for the liberation from apartheid. Did y'all know that? You talking about he's not influential. Did you know the Brown Bomber, the man who started the Tuskegee Airmen, was flew out to Ethiopia and fought in the war against Italy on behalf of His Majesty and his nation, and fought so valiantly that these Europeans, these American, these American military officials said, "Dang, man, this dude flew so good. We got to get them up in the sky. We got to get these people. These people can fly. We've been denying it, claiming their intelligence isn't enough, but this brown bomber here has proven us, right?" And you telling me His Majesty didn't have global influence? Did you know His Majesty called the United States, said, "Hey, I'm coming down there. I'll be there 2-3 days after y'all make y'all decision for the Civil Rights Bill." This is the head of the African Union and the head of the Ethiopian Empire, the oldest African empire on earth, telling America, "I'm coming and I'll be there after y'all make y'all decision, 2-3 days." That means that if y'all say no civil rights bill, you're going to tell the head of the African Union that he got to walk through the back door? You're going to tell the head of the African Union that he got to go through the back door? Laughable. You don't think that impacted the decision for the civil rights bill? Come on. Make it make sense. So to say that His Imperial Majesty didn't have a very, very large impact. Rastafari is another great example. A lot of people sidestep Rasta because they think it's a joke, but this is how Christianity started. And look how Christianity is today. It's the most important and influential faith on the planet. And this is how the Christian faith started, with righteous people who understood the word, who took time to meditate on the word, and the truth was revealed, and they came and brought the fruits of their labor to the world to bear fruit for the kingdom of God. So you sitting there telling me His Imperial Majesty is not influential? That's just utter nonsense. Now, that being the case, I don't want to continue too long because this is just part one. This is like what you would call a warning shot. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we've stood idly long enough. We've allowed y'all to run y'all mouth long enough. And yeah, I'm just gonna say it candidly. I'm not gonna bite my tongue. I have no fear. I trust in Almighty, and I know wickedness when I see it. And I know what we call a bait and switch when I see it. I know somebody put a battery in y'all back. I know somebody put a battery in y'all back, because y'all are starting to see that the entire black community has woken up to the fact that Ethiopia is the promised land. Let's give some examples. If you ever watch Go Black to Africa on YouTube, you're going to start seeing him taking you to Ethiopia, showing you that Christianity started in the heart of Ethiopia, showing you that where the true Jerusalem is and who the true Israelites are. Go look at Israel itself. Didn't they fly Beta Israel from the mountains of the Simeon Mountains of Ethiopia into the heart of Israel in 1992 on a project called Aliyah? Right? So they testifying to Ethiopia's divine heritage. You go and look at Ron Dalton, the one who wrote Hebrews to Negroes. He just came out publicly professing that the homeland is in the heart of Ethiopia, even though years ago when we sat down and talked to him and counseled him and advised him in these clubhouse rooms, which some of these videos I believe we even kept. See me I say? He hadn't came to that realization, and I'm not knocking the brother for that. We all evolving at our own pace. God will reveal to those who He desires worthy to find the divine revelation, and He'll hide those things and put scales on the eyes for the wicked. So, Ron Dalton comes to some of these realizations, which is a blessing. I'm thankful, but he ain't came all the way there yet. They ain't come full circle yet. Because when they come all the way, they start to riff. If you find Ethiopia, you got to find the Solomonic dynasty. And or you got to find the Ark of the Covenant. And if you find the Ark of the Covenant, you got to find the Solomonic dynasty, right? And if you find the Solomonic dynasty, you got to find His Majesty, because there's nobody in Ethiopian history that has ever accomplished what His Majesty has done. You want to say Menelik is greater? Menelik fought a one-dimensional war. I'm not saying Menelik was not great. I'm not saying that I don't look up to Menelik as one of the greatest leaders in history. That's the part you won't hear. But I am saying His Imperial Majesty is greater and has accomplished more, because Menelik excuse me. got a lot to say. Menelik fought a war in which his enemies were in front of him. They didn't have gas, right? They didn't have tanks, right? His Imperial Majesty fought a war where they came from the sky, where they had airplanes dropping bombs and gas on the crops in the field, so you couldn't even find refuge in the bush. You feel me? So after the war, there were still consequences, right? Menelik, if you look at Menelek's kingdom and Haile Selassie's kingdom, Haile Selassie had Italy to the north, Italy to the south, France up right, Britain to the right. He was surrounded. This landlocked for a reason. So what he accomplished when all hope was lost, right, using their own power against them, there's this legendary, the Gideon Force. Just go look it up, the Gideon Force. So I just wanted to say that because that's another important concept, right? When has Malachii Z York fought in a war at the front of the army? Right? When has Malachii Z York governed a province? His Majesty was governor at age 13, appointed at age 12. Don't you see the parallels with Christ? Christ was in the church teaching at age 12. His Majesty was governing. Seen, right? His Imperial Majesty was governing Harar by the age, I believe, 18. And Harar, if you go study Harar, that's like the jugular of Ethiopia. That's the most important trade route, right? Harar, he's given the title Dejesmach. That means keeper of the gate. Harar is the gate to Ethiopia, because all of the foreign nations do their trading and their bidding there. That's their first impression of Ethiopia. You understand? And His Majesty was in charge of that. At the young age, she may say, which place did the Nuwabian kingdom govern, and govern correctly? And if you want to talk about, he was quote unquote, what do they say? They say he was they try to say his kingdom was overthrown. No, His Majesty handed power over to his own people. It wasn't a foreign nation that took over Ethiopia. That's number one. Number two, they didn't take it by force. His Majesty handed it over. We have proof and evidence, right? And number three, when you look at His Imperial Majesty's empire that he ran, and you look at the 70 plus years that he was in power, because even when he was plenipotentiary, even when he was regent, His Imperial Majesty was what we call de facto ruler. De facto ruler means that the Queen Zeweditu was a figurehead. His Majesty was actually running the country. This is well documented. So we're talking about a long time running. And you're talking about how long was the Nuwabian kingdom up and running? How long was Malachii Z York out here running his mouth about every single other person under the sun? Right? Y'all get a little bit of truth and sprinkle it with a whole bunch of lies and run and tell that to everybody. Y'all the same type that put fentanyl in people's weed and in people's, you know what I'm saying? Sprinkle a little bit of this and a little bit of that before they know it, they locked up with your ass. Now, I mourn for the dead, and I feel a very strong sadness that man is locked up. And I do not deny that there aren't peoples out there that wanted ill towards that man, that heard some light in him and didn't want that light, whatever light it was, to be out there. And I believe that he had been targeted. Of course, any black man speaking any type of truth or any type, even if it's a sentence of truth and 28 chapters of lies, right? They don't even want that sentence out because that sentence can change a nation. So in my opinion, yeah, they probably did target him. But as far as in regards to the what we call the child molestation charges, the people up and disappearing, vanishing, that were around him, those things, some of those I believe. And now, believing don't mean that I have the right to say that it happened or it didn't. I just said I believe with purpose, so we can distinguish fact from fiction, because I only run with facts. But I can give you a couple facts, one of which we're going to play for you right now. If you can, my brother, if you can play Malachii Z York's daughter's testimony, and we'll shortly close after that. We tried to be patient. I don't know how many people know this, but we're going to go ahead and keep bringing more information out. This is just the beginning now. So let's play this.
Young, the woman who tortured kids as part of a religious community in Florida. You may remember she was just arrested in Marietta for the death of a toddler named Moses. That was back in the 80s. This week, we were the first to talk to the sister of one of her victims and to one of her neighbors in Marietta. Today, we're hearing from one of the people who knows her best, Anna's daughter. A captivating interview with Christy Etheridge. Joy Fluker talked about seeing this torture firsthand.
Well, I lived a lot of it. I was down there, so I knew about a lot of this before it came to light.
You witnessed it?
I witnessed a lot of it, yes. I just have nightmares about the last time I saw Moses, Brother Moses, what we called him, and I knew in my heart he was dead.
Her mother was just arrested for Moses's murder, but Joy was barely a teenager when she remembers watching another young girl forced into what her mom called a punishment bath, a steel tub filled with abrasive chemicals.
Why do you have such intimate knowledge about the abuse Nikki suffered?
Because I was there for that too. I remember hearing her scream. I remember dressing her wounds. I was made to help.
Do you think your mom understands the gravity of what she did?
No, she couldn't. If she understood the gravity of it, I don't think she could have lived with herself.
She says her mom has mental illness. It runs in the family. Joy says her grandmother was in a mental institution, but her mom never got help.
She immersed herself in religion and thought she was doing what was right. It wasn't just children that got beat. Adults got beat too, just as equally. It's just that children, because their bodies were frail and smaller, they couldn't, live through it.
Joy, how many people do you think your mother has killed, whether on purpose or not?
Well, I know for a fact 3, and it's children. I have to take ownership of my part, not speaking up. Maybe they can now help others.
Joy says she's not justifying or denying her mother's actions, but she hopes this story shows others how important it is to get those suffering from mental illness the help they need. You'll hear more from her tonight on the Late Feed.
There's a job.
All right. Pause. You have the other video?
Yep.
Before you bring it up, I just want to say, I wasn't there that night, and I can't judge that man. But I can say this. She seemed genuine. She seemed concerned. And it's very sad that you have a case where in which you're being accused of beating children. That's torture, dog. That's torture. And murder. Right? And that's what we know of. You know what I mean? Now, my thing is, let the judge deliberate. I think the judge did deliberate on that. After that, Almighty can deliberate on that. I can't say whether he did or did not, but I can say this. Just watching that moved me, touched me, and made me feel like it's sad and a travesty that some of our leaders there, some of the ones that came up behind this brother, people like Brother Polite and many other, right? People who claim that they're conscious-minded and leading our people. Where are they leading you, though? That's the question of the day. I want y'all to ask after you watch this video. Where are these Hebrew Israelite movement, the cult, leading you? Are they leading you back to Africa? Are they leading you back to Compton and back to Harlem? Right? Are they leading you to have your own nation state, your own military might, or are they just talking. You see me? I say, and I'm just using them as one of the many examples out here, because there's many of these people who make these claims. So before we get ready to close, I want to ask my brother who really is new to all of this, right? We brought somebody who's not really invested in this. He's what we call an objective perspective. And I want to just ask my brother Ricky, from watching some of the video that you just saw, what comes to mind? You know what I mean?
Well, man, to really be honest, man, you know, it's a lot really to take in. I mean, I do know a little bit about history, and I know a little bit about stuff, and I know what, you know, I'm not stupid enough to know that everything I learned in school was, you know what I'm saying, true.
Right.
You know, a lot of things were indoctrinated in us to think a certain way, when a lot of times it's really not that way. But listening to, you know, what you said, you know, it just makes me want to just do more research and really just, you know, immerse myself into, you know, what's going on, you know, find the facts. You know me, I've known me for over 25 years, man. And, you know, I'm gonna look for the facts.
Right. Right.
And, yeah, that's just all I really need to do, man. You know, I've caught a couple of you guys' videos so far, man, and I like the content, man. I really do. You know, it interests me. It makes me want to do my research. You know me, I'm always researching and learning something, you know. So this is intriguing. This is intriguing my you know, interest. And so, you know, I'm definitely going to be doing my research, and next time, you know, I'll jump on here with you guys. I'll definitely have some questions. I don't really have questions right now at this point. You know, no, cool. I'm still kind of really just taking it all in and really just trying to, you know, fill out the scenario.
Right.
But no, I'm digging it though. I'm digging it.
No, honestly, what you said, to be real, is like what a real person does. I'm not gonna give you a perspective because I really don't have enough information. This is my first time being exposed to something, so I'm going to bow out amicably, but I will say it's intriguing, and it's something I'm gonna do some due diligence to look into. That's what I want everybody watching this video to do. Do your due diligence. Years later, you will watch this video and be blown away at how much accuracy there was in this video, and how much accuracy they're lacking in the book and in their rhetoric, in their videos, and in their content. So we're going to go ahead and post this at the bottom. Go ahead, Richard. You wanted to say something?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say, you know, like, if I could get some help, also, you know, some direction, you know, send me a couple of messages or some texts to some links I could look up, and some stuff I could, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, I can go down my own rabbit hole, but, you know, I want to read what you're reading. I want to see what you're seeing. I want to experience what you're experiencing. So I need those points of reference. I know it all has to do a lot with the Bible, and it has to do with, you know, stuff like that too. So, I mean, I understand that part of it, but.
Well, here's the thing though, bro. It's not all just biblical. Even if I remove the Bible completely, it just, from a historical perspective, you could not find a better mentor. I've heard people argue they don't need a mentor, but then how did you learn English? How did you grow up, nigga, on somebody's nipple? You know what I'm saying? Like, stop acting like you never needed somebody to show you or guide you in life. That's the pride and ego that makes sure you never grow and evolve and learn.
Yeah.
Our goal is to go from our subconscious into consciousness and back to our subconscious. You'll never get back to the true divine nature, which is your subconscious, until you let go of all the lies that the world taught you. See me, I say, bless up, Jah, Rastafari, get him out, Haile Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Seeing, but you'll never evolve and grow unless you have the humility to be like a cup that's pouring all the nonsense out and ready to receive the truth. You know what I mean? Like, and this is where a lot of these Nuwabian and other, you know, unfortunate groups, they can't compete, brother. They can't compete, brother. See, the reason they can't compete is because we have a kingdom, we have an empire, we have a 501c, we have political party, we have, you know what I'm saying? Like, we really on this. You know, it's not just we talking all day. We're the nation that's gonna make Esau kiss our feet. Like, that's how these people talk. Like, I don't want Esau to kiss my feet. I want to hug Esau, embrace Esau, and move on as one human race. You feel me? Because that's the only thing that's substantiated. That's the only thing that lasts. The other way is another war. I can see it already. You like, we're gonna make war with Esau and make him kiss our feet and worship us and be our slave. Nah, bro. If that comes by the nature of the laws that God ordained, so be it. But I'm not wishing or praying for it to come. I have the humility and humanity to see them as lost spiritually. If you kill the vessel, you kill the soul, and the demon leave and go to the next vessel and the next soul. The purpose is to win truth, and the victory is unity. And His Majesty showed unity by leading the world's largest revolution in world history. This is what you can remove the Bible, and I would never remove the Bible, but if you're not haven't really learned the Bible and not really completely believe the Bible, then believe love, believe patience, believe long suffering, kindness. You know what I'm saying? Humility. These things are eternal, whether you look at the Bible or not. You can believe that if I love you, you're gonna love me back, and if I smack you across the face and you got some cojones, you're gonna smack me back. That's what you can believe. You see me how I say? The universal laws. And His Majesty, how do you unify 29 nations in less than 10 years? I can't get 10 niggas to play a basketball game in 30 minutes. See?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He unified 29 African nations that was underneath European yoke of bondage in less than 10 years, and then established the African Union himself with, well, not himself, this is a collaboration, but he's the champion of the day. He's initiator, right? Because they can't say I started it. He was talking to the League of Nations in the 1930s. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, you started it. You was there standing against fascism when nobody was there willing to stand by his side, but now you started it. Now we should follow the Nuwabians in America. You know what I mean? Like, now there's some righteous brothers in America that went and fought on behalf of His Majesty, but they'll tell you what I'm telling you. Otherwise, they wouldn't have went and died over there. You know what I mean? If they didn't believe in His Majesty, you gonna go die for a head of state that you don't believe in? Come on, dog. And these niggas getting up, believing their whole life, family, loved ones. I'm signing up for the kingdom.